Business, a person's occupation, profession, or trade. Connection, a relationship in which a person or idea is linked or associated with something else. Welcome to Business Connection. Each week, our program will offer inspiration to navigate the business world. Information you can use to succeed in any field. And we will help you focus on your goals. Join us now for Business Connection with your host, B.C. Clark.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Business Connection. I'm your host, B.C. Clark. As you know, I interview business owners across the state and some other places as well. Today, my guest is Mia Robertson. Robertson. All right. And so, Mia, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And so, Mia is a new business owner, her and her husband, who couldn't be here today. But they are some really neat people, and their business is hauling. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So, Mia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a mother and a caregiver, and now I'm a business owner.
Yes.
For a long time, my husband had worked in the transportation industry and decided that he was going to leave his longtime job to go do work for himself. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot that I had to learn along the way that I'm still learning. So,
and so, what are some of the things that you thought about owning a business before you actually got into it?
Oh, at first I thought it was going to be simple. Like, he came home and was like, yeah, I'm going to quit my job. I put in my notice and we're just going to start hauling. He's like, we're just going to go coast to coast. I'm just going to do what I did before. I'm going to buy a truck. And I was like, I don't think it's that simple.
Well, let me check.
Yeah, so I actually got online and started Googling how to start a small business in Nebraska. Mm-hmm. And I realized there were a lot of resources out there. And as I started attending some of those resources, I was like, we have no clue what we're doing, but we're going to be all right.
Yeah. And, that's usually how a lot of business owners start. But I think that you did the right thing because, number one, you said, okay, I don't think we know how to do this. So let me do some research. And I would encourage those who have ideas to start a business, or even if you're doing a side hustle, right? A side hustle, usually someone's working a full-time job, but there's things that they do on the side. Some people, sell different items. Some people are doing like a like they may have a full-time job here, but on the weekends they're doing hauling for someone else, right? Under their own name, and they decide, I should just do this for myself. But there are some things that you should know because there is a lot of hats. So what are some of the hats that you've learned that are really detrimental to having a successful business?
One of the biggest things is knowing how to manipulate through and work through how finances work and understanding how to price, because that was a big one. Like, we were really going under, and we're like, actually, when we put all the numbers down, we're not going to be making anything.
Yeah.
It sounded nice because it was money coming. Yes.
Most people don't. They assume, oh, well, no, this isn't right, so let me just do this. But I love the fact that you guys came together and said, let's write down what we think our prices should be. Another thing, too, is that you can always look online. You can look online and look for trends for that industry that you're in. Look at some of the pricing, and then you can do some mystery shopping, right? Mm-hmm. You can call up some of the trucking companies and say, I'm thinking about, I have some hauls that I need you to do. I just kind of want to understand what some of those prices are, right? And so just to get an idea of some of that, so you're not going into it blind.
Right.
And a lot of times if you have to borrow money before you get started, a lot of these things you have to know. You have to kind of understand projections and, a pro forma, words that you may not hear in everyday life, And so learning out what some of those financial terms are is really important. And I think also to understand what each of them mean and how they work within the business is really important. So go on. Because I know that wasn't where you stopped at. I know that you really dug in and you came to things, and you guys were really, you were out there digging. So talk about some of those things so that people understand that there are resources out there, but also don't be afraid to try and ask questions and find out.
Oh yeah, we're always asking questions. One of the biggest things was working on the business plan, and I had no clue even how to start with the business plan. And most of the time, I was getting like 7 little phrases that you were supposed to work on, and I was like, I don't even know what these phrases mean to
Yeah.
start a business plan. But then I started to work with somebody at, oh, we've worked with so many
I know
places.
what you're talking about. Yeah.
But they gave me a really nice detail of how a business plan is supposed to go. And I was able to kind of plan out our business. And even as we started that, what we've planned out versus what we're actually doing now, it's starting to change. So it is definitely a living document. We're always going to be updating it and revising it as we
That's
learn.
right. Yeah, it is. And I think most people don't realize it because I said, well, I don't really need a business plan. But if you don't, it's like going to California from Omaha. And if you don't have a map, how do you know where to, what stop should I take? Nothing. And so I think a lot of times what people don't want to do because they've heard such negative things about a business plan. They think it's something that's, really massive and they can't do it. They think that they need to pay somebody else to do it. Now, paying someone else to do a business plan that you haven't thought out is very difficult. They will charge you and give you something that you didn't want.
Right.
So you have to decide for yourself, what do I want this business to do? These are easy questions you can ask yourself. Where do I want to take it? What's my expectation for this business? Is it just something that I want a hobby at? Then just have a hobby.
Right.
Don't try to do the other things. But if it's something I want to build and maybe perhaps have a legacy for it, then I need to put some work in. And when we don't put the work in, it's when we find the businesses that don't survive. So putting in that work, understanding what an income statement is, what a profit and loss statement is, how to even do a pro forma, how to do projections. If you haven't done that and you've already started your business, you're in trouble already. So it's those things that I think that people overlook. And they think that, as you kind of said, I thought it was just like, let's just do it. Let's just start the business and move forward. And that happens at times, right? But we have to walk the walk and talk the talk. In order to do that, we have to have information. And so we have to go and get information. We have to. So what are some of the other things that you found out in this journey? Because you're just now in the journey. That's why I want to have you on the show. Because a lot of times I have business owners who have, 2 years behind them or something, but someone who is in that process right now, who I view as doing a really good job of making sure you're getting the answers and the resources.
Well, thank you. You have been so helpful. I had no clue what a performer even was before I took a class with you. So it was very helpful to be able to sit down and go over it and then to go home and recreate it on my own.
Yes.
So that I'm really hands-on, so I have to be able to see how something works in order to do it. And that's why the business plan was so important.
Yes.
And you talk a lot about networking. And that was something that was uncomfortable for me. So I made sure that I added it to our business plan, how many events we were supposed to be going to, because I was like, I don't really like to network. I don't really like to talk to people. But the networking events that I've been to, I've gained a lot of resources, and it also puts our name out there.
Yes, yes.
Going to pitch competitions and listening to people do their pitches, it gives me an idea of what I should be doing, and also what other businesses are out there and how their business models work, because we have an idea of what we'd like,
Yeah.
but we didn't really know how to build our business, and to be able to take some of those things away and to see how other businesses have struggled and how they succeeded keeps us hopefully from making some of the
Keeps you
same
focused,
mistakes. And
you know?
it does. It keeps
Yeah.
us focused, but to hear from other people how they've gotten to the point and they were like, that does not work.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, we're not going to try that.
Yeah, and that's good, and that's why I always talk about the networking, because the networking is for small business. It's a critical piece because you get to go out and you meet other business owners. They're going to talk about some of their woes and their struggles, and because they're honest. One thing that I've noticed over the years of networking, and I've been out there a lot and been everywhere and every type of networking event, I learned something. I learned from everyone over the past 20 some years. I've learned something from it could be something small, but you always learn. Networking is really crucial because it not only helps you in a way of you're learning stuff for your own business and different things you can do, but it also allows people to see you visually. And what I've learned over these past some years, 20 some years, is that if you're out there networking with other businesses, they recognize you. And if you've ever, met with them, even on just talk with them 2 or 3 minutes, they will refer your business, even though they never used you. And so it's an invisible trust with people you see. I normally ask people, do you network? And when I hear no, I don't. And I like to take them because sometimes people are not, initiators.
Right.
So like yourself, I would say come and go to the Empowerment Breakfast with me at Beacon Hill on the first Friday in every month. You will learn from there's 60 to 80 some business owners there, and it's networking at its finest. You have breakfast, you're talking at your table, you meet the people there, then there's an opportunity at the end to meet other business owners that you didn't see. You get to go home with a list of the people that attended, that have their businesses there, their phone numbers there. And so that is a ton of information. So you may pay $20, $25, whatever, but look at what you walk away with. And see, some people don't view that as, well, I don't want to pay $25 for breakfast. But it's not like you're paying for breakfast, because you can eat breakfast at home.
Yeah.
What you're paying for is the opportunities and the potential that is there. And that's very important. And I think, like you said, you've learned some of that as you've been doing some of the networking. It's really important.
Yeah, we feel that the business is something where we finally invested in ourselves. So spending a small amount of money to go meet other people that are like-minded is worth it.
Yes.
Because we want to be successful. So
I think that's wonderful. And I'm really exploiting you today because there's a lot of young entrepreneurs that I'm working with, and they have the mindset that this is something that they can just do on the fly. Now, mind you, they're very sharp. They know what they want to do. But I don't care how sharp you are, there's things that you need to know, okay? You can go to school and you can think you know everything, but I'm telling you, when you get out into this business world, there's things that you need to know before you put your feet on the ground. They call it boots on the ground. You need to have some info. And so I don't, I let them go, but I always tell them, like, don't say, oh, well, that person, they can't teach me anything. That's in their era. But I got to tell you, they're still here because they learned a lot of stuff in that era. If nothing else, learn a few things from that era that can take you to the next era. And then you can compare yourself with them. But anyway, I think that I think it's really important. And I really love how you and your husband have just kind of dug in, and you was like, I'm not sure what, and I heard you pitch last night. I was like, wait a minute, I was on a presentation myself. I said, is that my meal pitching? I was spot on. I'm so proud of you.
thank you.
That was,
We worked very hard on
I
that.
said, oh my God, we're doing something right. That was really amazing. You did a great job.
Thank you.
You were very focused, and I loved your attention to detail. But I knew that's how you were. I know your husband's big picture.
Yes.
But you're a detail person, and which is a great
Yes.
asset for both of you guys, right? Because you need that. You need both of those things to watch those numbers, and which you do. Like he said, you're 51. I was cracking up when he said that. And I was like, no, she's 17. No. But, yes, being 51% of the business. And he recognized that there's a ton of potential there.
Yes.
And not only that, but he knows you, he knows your strength, and he knows that that is the best position for you. Because you're like, no, there's layers here. I need to get through all these layers before I make a decision. And I love that. I think that's great. Tell us a little bit more about this journey that you're on.
Well, currently we're still learning our business. Going out, we actually are in the beta phase right now. So we actually did our first haul last week,
Cool.
which is very nice. And hopefully it'll continue with the reoccurring business. We did get a lot of referrals out of it. But by just understanding how everything works, we have DOT regulations and we have the safety recalls that we have to do, and there's just so many things that go into it that we didn't actually think about, because he had worked for a company that always was able to think about those things for him.
Right.
So making those connections with other people that do that, they're like, wait a minute, you have to have this book with you before you go out on the road.
Right.
You have to make sure that these are the papers that you have in your car. Because I just sent him with everything. I was like, I have everything, so you have it. If they ask for it, you just hand them the folder. And they're like, no, you only need. Utilizing our system so that we can communicate better online, him scanning in documents and things to me. That's really important, so that I'm able to get things into the QuickBooks
Sure.
and have them worked on before he gets back home, so it's not something that's heavy on me when he comes home. I have to enter everything.
Right. So, and I'm glad that you talked about QuickBooks. So, QuickBooks is a great tool, software for small businesses, because it can handle almost every aspect of the business. And as you go, you may want to do something like, but it keep all the records there. If you do it right, everything goes in the right place. All your payments can go in the right place. So when your accountant says, okay, it's tax time, you can just run a report, give them that report, they can fill out. I say that because technology plays another big part. Like first thing was financials. We talked a little bit about that. The next thing was networking. We talked about that, how important that is. But I have to tell you, record reporting and record keeping is huge in the business. And I can give you stories during the pandemic when the PPP and the EIDL was first came out. There were so many businesses that did not have records. They didn't keep any records. They had receipts. So they had to pay a lot of money to accountants to kind of recreate their financial documents. And that is not hard. So if you paid a lot of money, that's good, because you probably learned a lesson. Record keeping is totally, totally important. And to have a system that can do it for you is even a plus. I know that there are QuickBooks classes all around all the time. I know that certain organizations charge like $29 for a one-day class. And it goes through setup, a lot of things that you just can't learn on your own. And it's worth it. Even if you have to take the class 2 or 3 times, take the class 2 or 3 times. So if you're only paying $30, you're going to hear something different and learn something more each time you take that class. Because normally, if you were to go to a one-day QuickBooks class, it's $499. So to go to one full day with lunch for $30 is a miracle. So if you're not taking advantage of these things, that is just nuts. And that's the thing I find out. A lot of people, they're like, well, that's $30. Do you plan to make $300,000 in your business? Do you want to have records, kept, so you're not fumbling with papers? We can't live in that paper age anymore. We don't have any more trees to cut down. So we need to be able to put something in a system and do the right things from the beginning, so we have that everything in place. We can pull reports. If we have to go to the bank for a loan, we can pull our P&L. We can pull all these things. And that's really important. So what has been your experience with QuickBooks, even just getting started and on your journey here?
Oh, it's wonderful. I'm able to put our business card on and our checking account on and have everything scanned in. It's learning us, so as we get receipts in, it's putting it in the right place and it's matching it up, sending out invoices. They're able to pay with their cards online. It's wonderful.
It's wonderful. And I just think this is the thing, technology is, so that's our third thing. Technology is really important. If you can find even a cheap software until you can find something more affordable. But as your business grows, you may need something more. But just getting started, please get some type of technology that can keep your records for you, whether it's QuickBooks or some of the other things out there. I had a client that came to me and he was like, well, I'm just building. He was using Excel, and he had someone write the formulas for him. So he was doing some stuff in Excel. But when he found out that there was a QuickBooks class, he took that class so fast. And because he had been using Excel, it really helped him to be even more focused. And then he found out he had more time once he got QuickBooks. So these tools that are designed for small businesses. They really help you be time conscious. So if you have to go to a meeting, you have to do this. When you get home, then you can enter everything in. But then you know it's going in the right place. And if people needs to pay you, they don't have to call you up and all this. They can just, you send them the invoice. They can pay it right from the invoice. That invoice goes right into QuickBooks. So let's get technology wise, So when we think about that, networking, financials, I want to keep bringing this up because these are key things that you're seeing in your journey that are so important that you have to be able to understand these things. So financials, networking, and technology, what are some of the other things that you, on your journey so far, that you've even learned?
Well, I like the fact that you say the journey because every morning I get up and I listen to that song because it kind of keeps me going because this is a journey.
It is a journey.
There are so many things that I don't even realize that I don't know until I'm in a class or I'm meeting at networking and meeting with people and finding out, oh, I didn't know we should be doing that. Or mentorship, talking to somebody that's been doing this for a while and they're like, this is something that'll take you to the next level.
Right.
Jot that down so that when you're ready for that, you'll have it.
Have it.
Things that you never think of because you're just in it. You're in day to day. It's very helpful to be able to have somebody to talk to and to go over information with.
And a mentor, I'm glad you said that. A mentor, some people say, well, I need to have a coach, and that's fine too. I think that if you can work with someone who is in business, that kind of understands business, or even if they're not in business, but that's what they do. They're training people on business, in business, and really understand the ecosystem of business, then there is going to be a lot of help for you. There's things that they've seen that you haven't encountered yet. Even some of the resources that you're going to, any classes, you'll be surprised at what that person knows, especially if they're teaching it, right? And so sometimes just pulling them to the side and saying, you know what, help me understand this. And I know people are giving, they're not going to say, oh, well, let's see now, it's going to cost you $150 when we sit down with you. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is that what's the value to you?
Right.
Okay, what is that value? And most people don't value themselves in the business. And so they take on too much because they think that they know and they think they can do. They don't get advice and stuff like that. And then they find themselves in a trouble. So I always think that there is someone who knows more than me. And I'm teachable. I'm teachable. And I usually kind of bring that information close. I keep stuff because in every encounter that I've had with a business owner and things that they've done wrong, I document that. Because I'm going to meet somebody else who's in that position and I'm going to be able to say, this is what you could do. Here's some suggestions so that you don't go down that slippery slope. Being able to give advice, someone who is not, don't have anything to gain off of you. You know what I mean? A lot of times people look at people that are coming up when it comes to business plans and this stuff or whatever. Oh, I can make some money off of them because they don't know. I think I like to take the other road. I like to say, how can I help you? What is it that you think you need? Because in asking you these questions, you have to know. And usually I'll say, well, write down the things that you feel like you need to know and let's talk about them. Because if I just start shooting stuff at you, you'll say, okay. So, but if you come to me with questions, right, and say, I'm not sure about this, just what are your thoughts or what are some suggestions that you might have? And I love giving suggestions. I don't tell people. I give suggestions. And usually I probably know, but I want them to be able to ask me more questions about the suggestion, okay? Because when they learn, I learn too.
Right.
So it's a two-way street for me. And so always knowing that, and then they have people tell you, 15 years later, when you told me that I should always have a business card with me, and then now that's what she's teaching to her clients, it's like, You know what I'm saying? You never know what information it's going to carry. And usually when you're giving good stuff, it takes and goes, and it keeps going around and around and around. Yeah. And that's a good thing. So I love the fact that you're not afraid to ask a question. I've watched you in class. I watch you, ask questions, and I see when a light bulb comes on in class. So I'm so it's a star student here. That's why I'm talking this way. But her and her husband, I think he was in the business first a little bit, and then he realized that, I'm bringing my wife into this. We need to do this ourselves, which is amazing. And then, of course, Mia was ready. She jumped in and said, okay, what all do we need to do? And then she started looking, because big picture people, they usually are kind of visionaries.
Yes.
They see, but they don't always know down
Yes.
at the bottom. And so, because I'm that way, I had to learn how to get in the weeds. And then when I worked in corporate America, there were some things that I needed to understand. Like, I could see from A to Z, but I didn't focus in on B, C, D, and I had to learn how to do that. So getting in the weeds, and when you have a person who is really that type of person who love the weeds and have layers that they have to get through before they come up with an answer, perfect people to have around if you're a big picture person. So
He's definitely.
he doesn't know how lucky he is. But that's why you're number 51. Right. That's a good thing. So let's talk a little bit about some of the other things. Like, and I know that there's some certifications that you're going to be getting.
Yes.
What are some of those certifications you're going to be getting?
Minority business owner.
Okay.
There is a
The small emerging business too.
yes, there's that one. I have a whole list.
I know you do.
A woman-owned business certification, and then there is a
8A certification.
yes,
And then SAM,
yeah,
doing business
And
with the government.
we did fill out our SAM paperwork.
Yes. And so those are really good certifications. And now, I'll say the most important ones, as I look at that group, is to have you definitely be on SAM, to do the government contracting. And being with Apex, in order to do that, they will automatically send you, according to the NAICS codes of your business, they will send you certain RPQs that come from the government, and you can get to bid on those things. The Small Emerging Business, the SEB, with Christian, have you talked to him yet?
He's on my list.
He's on your list. Okay. Normally he'll send you an email. So and so I don't think I did the introduction.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think I did I?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So small emerging business getting certified for that, because those are city contracts. Okay. The other one too is, like, for now, the tier 1 and tier 2. You know about those.
Yes.
If your business is east of 72nd Street, it's tier 1, and if it's west, it's tier 2. Or in other areas. And then, so you want to sign up for that. The women-owned is great, because you're woman-owned in your business and you're 51%. That's why we call her 51. So she's 51%. And so doing that is awesome as well, because then there's set-asides for those,
Yes.
okay? And for the SEBs as well. The other one is your 8A certification, which, you never know if you're going to get accepted in that program, but it's a 9-year program that helps businesses all the way for 9 years, making sure and so there's a lot of opportunity there. So everything you're doing to this point is going to help you with all of those. So just stay vigilant on making sure you get certified in everything. And I think that you're doing everything the right way. You continue to ask questions, and that is key to success. And getting all the information that you need is key to success. Okay? My guest today is Mia Robertson, and she is the new business owner, her and her husband, but they are doing all the things right, and that's why I want to have her here to talk about the journey. Mia, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you are a model student, and I'm happy that I'm associated with you. Well, thank you so much for watching us today. This is the Business Connection, and we talk about reality in business. We talk about real things. So join us next time, and we'll see you then.